Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. Today we have to go over, once again, this whole bike Karen thing because there are updates related to this story, and those updates include all the woke idiots doubling down as they confirm over and over and over again that this young man, in fact, did take the bike from this pregnant woman. And, of course, we have the sister going full scorched earth, full anti-white racist, talking about how this woman shouldn't have a GoFundMe, should definitely lose her job, and just initiating vicious attack after vicious attack against this woman. Now, we're gonna first start off with this video from Indisputable with Rayshad Richey, and I want you all to take note of the fact that Rayshad Richey is suspiciously absent from this segment. But before we get into that, I just want to say thank you to everybody who signed up over on actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
And thank you to everyone who is listening via Apple, Spotify, and Google's podcasting platform.
An update now. Mother of a teenager in Citi-Bike video speaks out. The teen involved, Citi-Bike viral video, along with his mother, spoke to News One to give their side of the story. Family's reluctance to speak out. Mary and Michael are eager to talk.
So I just want to point out that I'm not interested in this game anymore, where this kid and his family get to remain anonymous while they viciously attack this woman and smear her as a racist, as they prove over and over again, time and time again, that this young man was in the wrong and he did in fact take the bike. So he is called Hassan in this video.
Hassan, you pulled it out?
So we should all refer to him as Hassan by his given name, not by the pseudonym, because they did not give this luxury to Sarah Comrie, who ended up having her employment place doxed, who ended up having her residence doxed, who ended up having her husband doxed, all because she took a bike that she was fully within her rights to take. It was unrented by this guy Hassan, and he decided to physically and forcibly take it from her on video. So yeah, we're gonna call him Hassan. We're not gonna call him Michael. We're done with the pseudonyms. We're done with the nonsense. If you want to remain anonymous, don't take a pregnant woman's bike and then smear her repeatedly through your sister and through your surrogates in the press in order to make money for yourself and for your scamming family.
To Monique Judge of News One, Betty, their mother, is reluctant to let Michael speak with anyone. He's only 17 years old. He's my baby, Betty says. He's a senior in high school. He should be planning to attend his prom and looking forward to walking the stage at his graduation in a few weeks.
Now look, I could be in a bad mood. It could just be me because I've covered this story so many times on this channel. But is it a qualification that you have to read incredibly, excruciatingly slowly in order to be hired over at Indisputable with Rayshad Richey? She starts reading about 30 seconds into this video, and it goes all the way up to the 3-minute mark with information that I told you in a much more concise way. And again, this is the same exact information that proves beyond any shadow of a doubt that Hassan over here stole the bike from this woman. He docks at 719 East 30th Station, as we talked about multiple different times. That makes the bike available for rent. Sarah comes over after a 12-hour shift. She ends up scanning the QR code for this bicycle, putting it in her possession. I've seen the sister go on interviews and talk about how her brother had squatter's rights to the bike, of all the absurd things.
Nah, my brother is a squatter. Squatters have rights. Squatters have rights. If my brother's a squatter, he has rights. So now what? Yeah. We don't care about squatter rights?
But no, as we said time and time again, when you dock the bike, it is available for rent. Then on video, and you can hear it and see it for yourself, indicated by the light, it starts off with her in possession, according to her receipt, 724. He forces the bike into the dock, light goes off, and you can hear the sound.
Bro, now you're not getting the bike, bro. Hey, now you're not getting the bike, bro.
Help!
Yo.
And then he scans the bike. So at the 30-second mark, he forces it in. You can hear the click. Light is off visibly. 40-second mark, he scans it. And by the way, I've heard so many people try to say, oh, well, Sarah took his phone. That's totally ridiculous. That's totally absurd. That's totally insane, without acknowledging the context of which the phone was taken. So watch the video.
Yo. You're not getting the bike. I'm not.
Why you took his phone? What's wrong with you?
You're not
Don't touch his phone. Do not touch his phone.
I'm not touching you. You putting your stomach on my hand.
Because the taking of the phone happens directly after he forcibly put the bike in the dock. Then he pulls out his phone to try to scan it to put it under his account. So what she's essentially doing is taking the tool that he's using in order to steal. And by the way, she gives it right back to him, which if this was a crowbar and he was trying to break his way into her car, we would not expect her, after receiving the crowbar, grabbing it from him, to give it right back to him. But that is the equivalent that happened right here in this situation. So the idea that it's a theft is ridiculous. She's defending herself from a guy who's assaulting her, who just forced her back into the bike rack and is trying to take possession of the bike through physical force. Now, as I said, and I've gone over multiple different times, when he takes it at 7:25, he docks it at the same station without riding around anywhere throughout the whole course of this at 7:31. And then he ends up leaving at 7:59. So essentially, the argument is, and by the way, the sister, again, said that he had squatter's rights to the bike, is that Hassan had the right to squat on the bike for 40 minutes without paying for it, without it being rented, assault anybody who tried to scan their way into the bike, because he has a divine super right to the bike that is covered beyond all other things. That's what these people keep putting forward. That's what these people keep arguing about. That's what these people claim that is totally okay and acceptable behavior, when nothing could be further from the truth. Now, I will point out, and this was in Nate the Lawyer's video before we continue on with this stupid Indisputable clip, that this guy in the purple shirt, when he saw his friend insanely fighting a pregnant woman over a bike in this completely out of bounds, ridiculous, and totally unjustified way, he actually offers his bike to her.
No, dude, stop. No, dude, stop. No. I said no. I said sit down.
Please, she's just crying.
You're not crying. I got your video. Wait, you pulled it out? Hassan, you pulled it out? Hassan, you pulled it out?
This is my bike. It's on my account. Please move.
All right, so why don't we reset the bike?
I'm not resetting the bike.
It's his.
Reset it. I'm going to pull it out on your account.
You're an actor.
I don't give a fuck.
Stop fake crying. He's fake crying. Stop fake crying.
Hey, stop touching me. I don't touch you.
Hold up.
Hey, stop touching me. Stop touching me.
Why don't you take this bike?
Stop touching me.
I will.
Exactly. So take it.
Because he understood that they're fighting over something that he has no right to do. They're fighting over something that is clearly and obviously should not be fought over. And he realizes how in the wrong his friend actually is.
This is America. Look at your life, America. Okay? It seems pretty clear, but there's this mountain of evidence that Black youth, Black boys, Black young men have to climb, it seems, when a certain type, persuasion points the finger.
So this woman says there's a mountain of evidence that you have to put forward in order for a Black youth to prove their innocence. And I'll just point out that the popular narrative from the jump was that this pregnant woman walked up to 5 Black young men and stole the bike from them and then used fake white tears in order to do that. Then she produced the receipt and people realized that she was in the right. Even after that, this guy and his family come together and produce more evidence to prove that she was completely in the right in terms of this bike situation. And a lot of people just flipped the script and joined up with his side, which is ridiculous and absurd. And one of the people pushing the lies is TizzyENT, this absolute goofball of a commentator who has been proving her right over and over and over again while claiming he's doing the opposite. So these people are making all these claims about all this evidence that they put out because they anonymously said a sad story about how they're West African immigrants in this article. But when you read the article, you realize that they're riding the bike in 45-minute intervals in order to not be charged in addition to their membership fee. Then they dock it and wait for the bike to reset so that they can ride again. And they'll dock it for up to 40 minutes. And we're supposed to all pretend like that's okay. Now, a lot of people call this a Citi-Bike scam or whatever. And honestly, I think those people are a bit absurd because I don't actually care that they're doing this. However, one of the risks that you run while you're doing this, while you're trying to game the system in this way, which again, I don't care about Citi-Bike making money off of these kids. They are paying for the membership and they're trying to use it within the confines of the rules, is that somebody else can come rent the bike. You can't just lurk around the area and when you see a woman come over, confront her and then physically force her to dock in order to take the bike.
Yeah, I've been a part of this story since the beginning. I've been talking to his sister since last week. And that is the issue. I mean, I can't speak for anyone else. I can only say myself. I made a video initially about that video, and it had nothing to do with a stolen bike. I didn't care about a stolen bike. That was not what I saw that alarmed me. What I saw that alarmed me was the response to him, her screaming help like that.
So TizzyENT, who by the way was definitely on about the stolen bike from the jump and has now changed.
Would you like to hear from someone who has seen the receipts? Because Monique is a journalist, and she contacted her attorney directly and requested the receipts, and he provided them. And this is what she had to say about it.
What he presented to the New York Post were 2 receipts that he also sent to me upon my request. He asked that if he sent me the receipts that I not publish them. So I honored his request. I did not publish the receipts. However, I did look at them. The receipts are inconclusive. You can't tell who rented what. That's first and foremost. There's no information indicating an account or anything about who rented the bike. It says nothing about that. One receipt shows a bike that was unlocked and locked right back immediately within a minute. The other receipt shows a different bike, not the same number, was taken out and the person rode the bike for 25 minutes. Again, there's no indication of who rented the bike. I asked Justin why his client didn't at the time say that she had rented the bike. The young man in the video kept saying it over and over again. So why didn't she say she had rented the bike? He said, oh, well, it was a crazy moment. You know, so much was happening. It was stressful for her. She just didn't remember. But that would have been the easiest way to solve this dispute. If she actually had rented that bike and had possession of it, and she could show him that on her phone, because the other young man who kept saying he rented the bike, he was showing everyone his phone. You don't know who rented the bike. That is not proof, people. Understand that. This is just a statement from her lawyer. A statement from her lawyer is not proof of anything.
It sounds like I could hop on Photoshop right now and create equally convincing receipts.
Is going to this narrative that a lot of people on the left have gone to, which is they're concerned about the behavior, and it was never really about the stolen bike. Now, this is absurd for a number of reasons. First and foremost, this guy put out a video after this woman dropped her receipts to say, oh, because part of it was redacted in the press, which, by the way, they didn't tell you that it was actually verified by Business Insider and by all these news outlets, but then they redacted it after seeing the full receipt on the request of the woman's lawyer because they didn't want to further expose where she lived and where she worked. That's in the article, so he lied about that. He was saying they wouldn't stand up to court and these receipts were probably not even real and all of that nonsense. So it was 100% about the stolen bike. But even if we say, oh, okay, let's talk about her behavior, it doesn't make any sense to go after her behavior without talking about the initial issue, because this woman was having a bike physically taken from her by 5 men, well, 1 man in particular, but she's surrounded by 5 men, and that's why she called for help. So the idea that we're going to say, oh, well, while you're being robbed, we're going to criticize how you call for help in order to prevent that crime from being committed against you, that's what we're going to focus on. It doesn't make any sense. The whole thing about the behavior does not work without talking about the situation that was initiated. On top of that, there's never any criticism of this guy's behavior. He physically forced her into the dock. He's cursing at her the whole time, calling her stupid, talking about how her baby is going to come out the R slur. Again, that is all on the video. But we're supposed to focus on her behavior because she calls for help. So this guy forces her into the dock. She's like, hey, help me. This guy's doing this to me. And the problem for Big Boy over here is that she called for help.
Her screaming help like that and pointing out, this is dangerous. This gets young black men killed, a la Emmett Till. Don't do this.
Again, this point about how young black men get killed because of this is so stupid. There is not one case ever of this happening where a white woman called for help and then the evil white racist police officers descend and kill this person. And the example that he brought up was Emmett Till from 1955, and that's stupid for a number of reasons. So first of all, Carolyn Bryant, the woman that he is portraying as Emmett Till's accuser, did not accuse him. 3 days later, the husband comes back into town and he is informed about the incident through a third party. So it is quite literally not an incident of a white woman using her tears in order to get a black person killed. Secondly, and this is absolutely crucial, this idea that Carolyn Bryant made up the story has no basis in fact and or in reality, as I've talked about on this channel. This claim comes from a book that was published in and around 2017. It's from a guy who conducted an interview with Carolyn Bryant while her daughter was present 10 years earlier. Never throughout the whole course of time of the 10 years did he ever report that she recanted or said that she made up the allegations against Emmett Till. Never did he say that, but he had the interview on tape. So when we go to the tape, what do we end up finding? That portion of the tape, not recorded. He has a handwritten note which has nothing to do with anything, and he says, oh, that's him taking note of it, again, 10 years later when he's trying to sell a book. But this whole interview, which is in fact recorded, doesn't contain this portion of it. So Carolyn Bryant, there's no evidence that she made it up at all. There is evidence that Emmett Till did assault her, and for those of you who are absolute idiots, for those of you who are absolute dummies, that does not mean that the revenge murder against Emmett Till was justified. So this is all made up. This situation has never happened. The fact that they would even have to go back to 70 years ago would show you that this would never happen. So what the hell are these people talking about? Where is the danger? If this never happens ever, what are you saying? Again, only 13 to 9 unarmed black people are killed by the police every single year. And those people, half of them are driving their vehicle at the police. Those people, a chunk of them, are trying to grab the police officer's gun, so they are only unarmed at the start of the altercation. So what we're really talking about is maybe 1 to 2 situations, and those situations have absolutely nothing to do with white women falsely calling for help. So in this situation, she did call for help. It was justified for her to do so. The Emmett Till situation has nothing to do with anything, and they're reporting it wrong, and that didn't even have her telling her husband in the first place. So there's no case here. There's nothing. They're just making it up. They're fantasizing. They're LARPing. Also, this guy's wearing eyeliner.
And then receipts came, and a narrative came, and a press push came that vilified him. And suddenly he was a thug, and he was a thief, and he and his friends were intimidating a young pregnant woman. And no one bothered to talk about the fact that he was a 17-year-old high school kid who acted more like an adult in that video, in my opinion, than she did.
He did steal the bike from her. Like, it may not be criminally charged, again, allegedly, because he hasn't been convicted of it, but we see on the video him forcing her to dock and then him taking the bike that he had no right to take. And all these different receipts and everything that you've put forward has only confirmed that. That's why the sister...
Now my brother is a squatter. Squatters have rights. Squatters have rights. If my brother's a squatter, he has rights. So now what? Yeah. We don't care about squatter rights?
Is going on and doing interviews talking about how he had some divine squatter's rights to that Citi-Bike. And you keep saying he acted so much more mature than this woman.
And no one bothered to talk about the fact that he was a 17-year-old high school kid who acted more like an adult in that video, in my opinion, than she did.
Oh, what's wrong with you? Don't touch your phone. Do not touch your phone.
I'm not touching you. You putting your stomach on my head.
You're not crying. I got your video. Wait, you pulled it out? Hey, Hassan, you pulled it out? Hassan. Hassan, you pulled it out?
This is my bike. It's on my account. Please move.
All right, so why don't we reset the bike?
I'm not resetting the bike.
It's his.
Reset it. I'm going to pull it out on your account.
You're an actor.
I don't give a fuck.
Stop fake crying. This is fake crying. Stop fake crying.
Hey, stop touching me. I don't touch you.
Hold up.
Hey, stop touching me. Stop touching me.
Why don't you take this bike?
Stop touching me.
We can hear in the video him swearing at her, him insulting her, him shoving her, him raising his voice at her, him doing all of these intimidation techniques in order to get this pregnant woman off the bike that he has no right to.
And then, like he said, no one was sharing his story. No one was being a voice for him, it seemed. And then now we have his receipts and we have his, words about what happened. What's crazy to me is that's what we have from both sides of this. We have receipts and we have a claim of how it went down, and we have receipts and we have a claim of how it went down. One is not more or less, believable than the other. I personally see enough of his story that makes sense than I do with the other.
So now all of a sudden, the guy who 100% was all about the bike theft, who was trying to make the case that her receipts wouldn't stand up in court, therefore they were somehow not valid, who was ignoring the fact that news agencies had verified the unredacted receipts way earlier and had reported that in the articles that he was reading. Again, one of his issues was the time of the receipt, yet we saw in the news reports them reporting that it was grabbed and then 1 minute later it was forcibly docked. He's saying, oh, there's no reason for anybody who's looking at this to believe this versus that, but I believe the young black man. But the thing is, even if you do believe the young black guy, even if you believe that they were standing close enough, because that's what's in dispute, how close they were to the bikes, and this woman came up and she asked to use them, and they said no, and eventually, because he was off the bike, she scanned it and then tried to ride it, he would still be in the wrong. His version of the story still has him in the wrong. It's still him assaulting the pregnant woman because he didn't want to give up a bike that he was not renting and he was not paying for. You guys are going with all this abstract notions of possession where if his hand is touching the handlebar, but the bike is docked and he's not paying for it, therefore he owns it. Or, as the sister said, again, he has some divine squatter's rights that nobody else has. The entitlement of this guy, of this young man in this situation, cannot be underscored. And again, if this woman was trying to save money by docking it, she had a similar membership and all of that, and the young black guy wanted to ride the bike, then we would be in a situation where we'd be talking about her entitlement to game the system, and we know for a fact that she would have been banned from Citi-Bike forever. We're not even talking about it with Hassan over here, even though he's threatening people, violating them, pushing them into the dock in order to keep the bike. And the whole reason they have the docking policy that makes it available to rent is to prevent people from doing this.
This kind of thing gets black young men killed, okay? It did in the 50s, and it does today. And it's not a game, and it's not a PR campaign. It's actually about life and breathing, surviving.
Yeah,
I'll give you the rest.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I've seen people ask, why did those boys start recording? Because they knew that. Because they knew that behavior like that gets them killed, gets them arrested. They knew they were in danger, and they pulled out a phone and started recording to protect themselves.
Again, this is so stupid. There's no case ever in the United States of America, not even Emmett Till, as I've gone over earlier in the video, of a white woman falsely calling for help and the racist white supremacist cops descending in their parachutes and killing the black people that are around. It's never happened. They were recording it because it was a viral video, and him making the case that they were scared of this woman as Hassan is screaming at her, telling her to shut the F up, calling her stupid, saying her baby's gonna come out, the R word for disabled mentally, and then forcibly pushing her into the dock is absolute insanity. They were not scared. They were trying to scare her. Now, one young man eventually did the right thing and gave up his bike, even though I actually think he had it out of the dock when the whole situation went down. It's this guy in the purple shirt. And if anybody should get a GoFundMe from this group of people, it should not be Hassan. It should be this young man.
And what does he see? He sees a ton of people donating thousands of dollars to her to raise over $100,000 on a GoFundMe. Good news is, myself and others encourage that family to post a GoFundMe. They finally did yesterday afternoon. They've raised over $50,000 so far.
Yeah, they had a GoFundMe because you guys tried to get her fired from her job and she was put on administrative leave, which is the first step to her getting fired. So they have a GoFundMe and they hired an employment attorney in order to deal with this. And by the way, these guys keep obsessing about hiring an employment attorney as if the reason why you would do so is not because you're defaming her and trying to get her fired from her job, when, again, Indisputable released her place of work, showed the face of the CEO of the company that she worked, and demanded that she be fired. And they're like, oh, an employment attorney.
Justin Marino is an employment attorney. His job is to help Sarah Jane Comrie keep her job with NYC Health and Hospitals. He's here to help her keep her job.
And then she hires an attorney.
Yeah.
An employment attorney, not a criminal attorney.
Not a criminal attorney, even though this is not a criminal case, and her issue is that she's getting fired from her job. How does that make sense? That proves her guilty that she hired the appropriate attorney for the situation that she's dealing with.
And I hope that continues to happen, because every interaction that I've had with them, they are sweet, kind, loving people who never even wished ill will on her.
Now, there's a point in this interview where Tizzy, big boy over here, says that the family is so kind, so sweet, and all of that. And I will just point out that the sister has a long history of anti-white tweets.
Even though I'm trolling them back, you know, they're going as far as like digging up old tweets of me saying that I hate white people, which is it's helping them with their narrative, right? That I'm a grifter and that, oh, my family's doing this for money.
And she's going around doing interviews demanding that her GoFundMe be pulled, demanding that she be fired from her job, calling her all sorts of names. She's the one who called her racist. She could have de-escalated the situation. Sarah Comrie never wanted to go after the family, but this woman wants to go after Comrie personally due to the fact that she hates white people. And this woman has been going on podcast after podcast, doing interviews and TikTok videos, talking about how Sarah Comrie is lucky that her brother didn't assault her in that situation.
I'm glad I wasn't in New York that day or in that area, because when he came over there and talking about, boys, that's what we gonna do, I was like, that would, but we're not here about me. We're here about this situation because we're gonna need bond money for me.
Because let me tell you, in New York City, most people would have ignored her or done worse to her.
Sorry, I meant to say didn't assault her more, because we could see in the video him put hands on her and him physically shove her in there, which according to New York state law would be a simple assault. So you have this woman going after them, and this guy's talking about how they all have good behavior, talking about how her brother was polite, even though we can hear in the video all he's doing is swearing at her.
My brother and his friends the entire time did not speak to her. They were being as respectful as they could be. Obviously, it's a heated moment. They're being as respectful as they could be. They're saying, please don't touch me, ma'am. Like, it's not a joke.
Oh, what's wrong with you? Don't touch his phone. Do not touch his phone.
I'm not touching you. You putting your stomach on my hand.
They're being as respectful as they could be. They're saying, please don't touch me, ma'am. Like, it's not a joke.
I got your video. Wait, you pulled it out? Hey, Hassan, you pulled it out? Hassan. Hassan, you pulled it out?
This is my bike. It's on my account. Please move.
All right, so why don't we reset the bike?
I'm not resetting the bike.
It's his.
Reset it. I'm going to pull it out on your account.
You're an actor.
I don't give a fuck.
Stop fake crying. He's fake crying. Stop fake crying.
Hey, stop touching me. I don't touch you.
Hold up.
Hey, stop touching me. Stop touching me.
Why don't you take this bike?
Stop touching me.
They're being as respectful as they could be. They're saying, please don't touch me, ma'am. Like, it's not a joke.
It's absolutely absurd. And even more funny is she actually says at one point in this ridiculous interview that her brother, if she would have asked nicely, would have probably given the bike to her because she was a pregnant woman.
Correct. And I know my brother. I know if she was not behaving like that, he probably would have gave it to her.
When the article, the propaganda piece that they're pushing, written by the way, one of the authors that doxed Sarah Comrie's husband, actually says that she did come up and ask nicely for it, and he still said no. So they're lying constantly, they're trying to smear Sarah Comrie constantly, and the sister is shooting off at the mouth about how Sarah Comrie deserved to be physically assaulted by her brother for renting a bike that she had every right to rent, that her brother had no right to rent beyond her so-called divine squatter's rights to a rentable Citi-Bike. So let's be clear about this. The more information that has come out from the other side shows that Sarah Comrie didn't do anything wrong. As we read in the articles, what we find out is that she had every right to rent the bike, and Hassan, according to the video that they shot themselves, forced her into the dock to take it back because he thought he had a divine right, a squatter's right, to hold down this bike from 7:19 to when he actually wanted to use it at 7:59. So 40 minutes of unpaid time where you can fight a pregnant woman for the bike if she dared try to get home after a 12-hour shift. Absurd and insane. The sister, absolute horrible person, nasty, vicious person who's fantasizing about this woman being beat up, going and doing streams about how she deserved it and all of that, and trying to get her fired, trying to get her GoFundMe pulled, and just being a vicious, nasty person, which makes sense considering her long history of anti-white tweets and anti-white public statements that she would come out at her. Now, this young man right here, and again, they're all in and around the age supposedly of like 16 and 17, actually was a decent person. He saw his friend physically assaulting a pregnant woman for a bike that he had no rights to, and he eventually turned over his bike to that woman. Really good kid in that situation, even if he initially rejected letting her ride the bike when she asked. When he saw the situation get out of hand, he decided that he was going to step in and try to de-escalate the situation. Also very notable, one of Hassan's friends that is off camera, you can hear him, there's another friend that's attacking her viciously and all that, saying, dude, just give her the bike. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? Did the right thing in that scenario. But Hassan, 100% in the wrong. All of these lefty people who keep trying to smear this woman's name, 100% in the wrong. The sister, race hoaxer, grifter, terrible person, releasing crappy, nasty, vindictive statements, and just showing over and over again that her character is non-existent. On top of that, remember, these people tried to smear somebody for saying reset the bike, and of course he didn't want to do that because he had already forced her to reset the bike so that he could take it, because again, it was all about him taking the bike. So yeah, you don't have a divine right to get the rental and not pay for it for 40 minutes as you hang out and chill around, and you can't assault people that come up and legitimately rent the bike during the docking time. You should be ashamed of yourself. Your family begging for money on the internet in order to profit off this should be ashamed of yourself, and your sister is absolutely a garbage person. Now, we actually haven't heard from this young man. If he came out and said tomorrow, hey, you know what, this situation got completely out of hand, it was a petty argument, and but for the injection of race into this scenario, it would not be worthy of national news, then I would be fine with ending it right there, because in reality, as I've talked about with a buddy, Nate the lawyer, that is what is the case. This is a petty dispute that didn't need to evolve into this whole national news narrative, but it is because of the race hoaxers that are pretending that she was somehow endangering their lives by not wanting to get the bike stolen from her. That's where we are. Now look, I don't want to update this story constantly for the rest of my life in perpetuity. I'm going to try to ignore the ridiculous, insane, inane statements from the sister, her calling for or fantasizing about Sarah Comrie being the victim of violence. But if we have serious major updates, I will update you guys based on this, because it's important to not let this die when the other side is viciously attacking this woman, trying to get her fired from her job, when they keep proving over and over and over again, time and time again, that she was in the right. So yeah, we hope that this will end. We hope that Comrie won't lose her job. We hope that the race hustling sister who's trying to parlay this into some cheap fame gets what's coming to her in terms of life. Hopefully she becomes unhirable. That would be a good ironic justice, as she is viciously attacking Sarah Comrie, trying to make her unhirable. But yeah, that's really where I want to leave it. Now I open the floor up to you. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you liked the video, show me by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on all my social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the Bike Karen update yet again and the ridiculous actions of the sister. Till next time.